These are the 15 best free SteamVR games that you have to play on your PCVR or Quest headset. So let's dive right into it. And starting it off, we have DCS, the World Steam Edition. Now in here, you can fly your very own jet while you're also trying to fight your way for survival. But besides just the insane graphics of the plane that you will be using, the quality of this experience in general is absolutely off the charts, making it sometimes even hard to believe that this game is actually free to play. And while it also has a bunch of missions and campaigns that you can sink hours and hours into, it also has a PvP and PvE mode if that is something that you're more interested in. Either way, it is pretty hard to deny how insane this title is. But it gets us to number 2, which is known as The Lab. Now this is a unique VR title that is made by none other than Valve themselves to showcase the many different things that you can do in virtual reality. And because of that, it is often also a great way to introduce new people into VR. But it can also be a lot of fun, even if you are a hardcore VR veteran, because this game can go all the way from a basic tower defense to operating a slingshot and so much more. And of course the best way is just to try it out for yourself and see what part you enjoy the most. But moving on, we have number 3, which is Race Room, the racing experience. And this is for all those car lovers out there, because in here, you'll be in the driver's seat of one of the coolest vehicles that you can think of. And with the bunch of built-in tracks that you can choose from, it is just up to your own skill to break its lap records in either single or multiplayer mode. Although, sadly, some of the cars and tracks are locked away from the free-to-play version, but you can often still try them out during some of their in-game events. Either way, just the stuff that comes with it for free should already be more than enough to satisfy that adrenaline-pumping feeling. And on number 4, we have Star Wars Droid Repair Bay. Now, like the title itself already implies, this one will drop you into the Star Wars universe where you will be fixing up some droids as quick as possible. And that so that they can roll straight back into action on the battlefield. But what I like about it most is that each droid has their own unique style and character to it. And while this might still not be as content dense as some other Star Wars VR games, it is definitely still a great one to play in virtual reality without spending a single cent. And that also goes for number 5, which is Shadowed Lights, because this is perfect if you love some good VR horror games. And the cool thing is that this one uses full room scale that makes the experience even more realistic, since this means that you will have to physically move yourself around to be able to progress through the story. Although, it is recommended though that you have at least a place of 2 by 2 meters to get the most out of it. So keep that in mind. And yeah, you can expect some big jump scares too. So if you maybe want something more calm, then we have number 6, which is NVIDIA VR Funhouse. Now just imagine a full-on carnival, but then in virtual reality. Well, that is exactly what VR Funhouse is. Because here, you can try out a total of 7 different minigames that go from whack-a-mole to target practice and many more. But while they might seem quite simple, the VR interactions and crisp quality actually make this a pretty good looking game. And the reason behind it is mainly because NVIDIA wanted to show off their graphics cards and what they are capable of in virtual reality. And on number 7, we have Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. Now this is probably best described as a 3D narrative that is based on a short story that goes by the same name. And that means that this is kind of an interactive portal into the world of the Cthulhu legend. And without spoiling the story too much, you'll basically be stepping into the shoes of a former ship officer while you're trying to uncover the horrors of a distant Eldritch island. And the cool detail is that while the overall game is pretty short, it is fully voiced from start to finish, which also gets us to number 8, known as Aircar. Now just imagine that you're in a chopper, but then in a cyberpunk style city. Well, that is exactly what you can expect from Aircar, but it is also thanks to this futuristic looking atmosphere that it makes it stand out and memorable compared to a lot of other VR games. Although, just keep in mind though, that you might get slightly motion sick if you're not used to virtual reality yet. But that gets us to number 9, known as Google Earth VR. Now this is probably one of the most overlooked VR applications of all time. Because while at first it might sound kinda straightforward, Google Earth VR is actually really special. Because with it, you can travel to any place on the planet within an instant. And while of course nothing comes as close as to visiting a place in real life, I still think it is a fantastic way to see a lot of the insane wonders that our globe has to offer. And on number 10, we have Propagation VR. Now this is the highly rated VR horror game, but then with zombies. However, the main fun here comes from the many challenging difficulty modes that you can switch between of, with one of them even being literally called impossible. And if that is somehow not scary enough, then it even has a function for you to use something like a haptic suit and make it even more realistic. But before we get to the next 5 must-play free PCVR games that you don't want to miss, let's first have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than CatVR, who are known for creating VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are once again taking virtual reality to the next level. Because while we are normally limited by the boundary system inside our VR experiences, it is CatVR that has created these VR treadmills that let you run and jump without any limitation. And since their most recent version, which is known as the C2 Plus Enhanced, is compatible with every VR headset that you can think of, it is also often considered as the dream upgrade for any VR user. And they even go so far that it has things like haptic feedback built into it, as well as a vehicle hub, which will make it feel even more realistic when you're racing on a track or flying through the sky. And as a cherry on top, you can also use the code VRelity for a whopping $130 off on your entire purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. And that gets us to number 11, which is Punch Fit. Now this is a simple yet really addictive game, because all you have to do here is hit the targets at the right moment while you're also dodging the incoming obstacles. But the best part is that you will be burning a lot of calories quickly while also getting a proper workout at the same time. And on number 12, we have graffiti bombing. Now this is for all those creative VR users out there, because in graffiti bombing, you can let out all your artistic skills using spray cans and with the world itself as your canvas. But when compared to some other titles, this one actually has some big open world zones for you to explore through. And also, while adding in some realistic weather effects, spatial sounds, and a level of detail that you normally only see in some bigger VR games. So honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised on how much effort has gone into creating this, and that you can somehow still play this for free. But moving on, we have number 13, which is Aperture Hand Lab. And this one will feel right at home if you have already played the popular Portal games before. But even if you haven't yet, then this is still a great game to check out some of the cool things that you can do with your hands in virtual reality, while also having a good laugh thanks to your friendly neighborhood robot. The only downside is that the overall experience is pretty short and feels more like a tech demo than an actual game, making me wish that we got some more full-on VR titles that are similar to the Portal series, but that are built from the ground up to work with virtual reality. But if you really want to laugh, then try out number 14, which is known as Accounting Legacy, because this short experience feels a bit like a Rick and Morty fever dream mixed together with Job Simulator. Although, while it does have some cartoony style to it, it is definitely not made for the younger audience, so please keep that in mind. And on number 15, we have War Robots, The Skirmish. Now here, you will be in control of an actual mech robot and fight with it in some intense combat. But the unique thing is that it kind of feels like one of those old school arcade games that got taken to the next level. Although, the only thing missing here is a longer campaign mode and some cool multiplayer action. But that's not all, because there are also some other must-play PCVR games that you need to try. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.